Here are two guitars of roughly the same body, and one is 100 years old and one is 1 year old. Man, if only I looked this good when I was 1, things could have been different. So guitars from the turn of the century have a lot going for them. They're beautiful, they're made with old growth materials, they sound amazing. This guitar is beautiful, made with old growth materials, and it sounds amazing. People love to knock new guitar companies because they're big factories that are putting out guitars left and right, and attention to detail has got to be low. But the same thing could be said for old guitars too. I mean, have you seen the inside of a Harmony guitar? They aren't pretty. In Dakota Dave Hall, he gave us insight into the Gibson factory from the 20s and 30s.
You did not have really too much interaction between artists. Nowadays, of course, there's a lot of that going on. The fit and finish, the care that people are taking, making these new guitars these days, going to, be as good or better.
There are a handful of new companies today making guitars not only to spec of old vintage guitars, but like maybe almost more to spec. It's right about now you get this glazed over look like, okay, so what's better? I thought you liked
vintage guitars.
And I do like them. But maybe it's not our vintage guitars better or vice versa, but when would you use one over the other? For pro vintage, there's something to be said about playing an instrument that is from the era of the music you play. In my case, I really like the early 1920s and 30s stuff. It's just nice to have an instrument from that era. It just matches the timbre and quality of that genre. Also, there's something nice about knowing that the song and the instrument kind of lasted the decades together. But let's talk pro new vintage inspired. This might surprise you though, buying a vintage inspired guitar might have like a more accurate connection to the music. So like 1920s blues musicians, they were not buying vintage guitars, they were buying new guitars from the catalog. They're like $2, So in a way, you playing this guitar, a brand new guitar, is probably the most accurate and authentic portrayal of the records of your heroes. It's weird to think of it that way, but it's true. Now, one thing that always deserves a seat at the table is cost. Now, vintage Martins and Gibsons aside, sometimes a vintage guitar can be the most affordable option. Now, this was my first guitar. It was like $200. It was also the first guitar I ever learned how to repair on. I've reset the neck twice. I've refretted it twice. And when they aren't $200, even if it's $1,000, you put $500 to $1,000 more into it. There's a $2,000 guitar with maybe even that much just in the materials alone for a guitar today. Now, a new guitar can be very, very expensive. The serious player can probably expect to spend $2,000. In 2024, I think $2,000 if you want to, get a dependable instrument, new or old. I think $2,000 is about what you should expect to spend. Of course, there is cheaper and way more expensive, but I think to me that's like a good number to consider. This guitar is actually entirely domestic woods. This might look like spruce to you, but it's not. It's actually hemlock. It's old growth hemlock too. That the owner of this is a woodworker, furniture maker, and he actually resawed this, and now it's the top of his guitar, which is really cool. And this is oak back and sides, which you don't see a lot of oak guitars these days. It was a thing. I'll show you. This is actually the same company as this guitar. Well, spruce top, but same oak back and sides. And then it has a poplar neck and I think a walnut fingerboard and bridge, which you could just find in your own backyard. So let's use that number, $2,000, that I just kind of decided is like a reasonable number for a high quality instrument. Let's say you're a guitar maker who can sell, let's say, one guitar a month, which I think most small makers would be fine with, pretty stoked. Like, yeah, I sold another guitar this month. So $2,000, one a month, you've got $24,000 at the end of the year. That's gross. You're gonna lose like 15% of that to Uncle Sam, and the guitar wasn't free to make. So that $2,000, you're not even clearing that. I don't have the exact numbers. I don't have all the answers. What I'm trying to say is your dollars go somewhere. Where do you want them to go? Anyway, these are just some thoughts I've had about guitars while I was working on this new beautiful Fraulini made by Todd Cambio's son. I was trying to put a pickup in it yesterday, and I ran into some things that made it challenging because it isn't just a stock Martin or Gibson. it's a handmade instrument, and I almost love it more for its challenges in that way, because this belongs to a place, and it belongs to a line, and it belongs to the musicians that this family supports, and also musicians can support a family. So this is an amazing guitar. I just think it's so cool. I'll play them both for you on your way out, just you can kind of hear what a 100-year-old guitar sounds like, of roughly the same dimensions as a new guitar. Alright, so obviously it's not a matter of which one sounds better or worse, it's just a matter of differences. The old one sounds warmer, but the new one sounds, way more laser focused. So it's kind of up to you what's right for your song or style. If you're interested in this kind of thing, vintage guitars and kind of the people who played them and the marriage of the two, go ahead and hit subscribe. I've got more always coming down the pike.